This video is sponsored by Surfshark, the best VPN on the market. Surfshark is an app or browser extension that allows you to change your location to access websites in other countries and keep you safe from hackers. For example, we here in Ireland can access other countries' Netflix libraries, streaming services such as DAZN in Spain for those all-important Premier League games. Surfshark keeps you safe and private by protecting everything you do online. When your device connects to the internet, all that information is, in a way, blurred out. Surfshark is particularly useful for keeping you safe if you use public Wi-Fi, such as a college or a cafe. Surfshark allows you to use one subscription on unlimited devices, meaning that you can even share an account with friends and family. On top of this, Surfshark offers a 30-day money-back guarantee, so if you don't like it, you can even get your money back. Our sign-up offer gives you Surfshark VPN for just over €2 per month and up to 4 months free. Why not scan the QR code on screen or use the link in the description to take advantage of this offer. What is up, my friends? We are back, we are live, a little bit later than normal, but you're all very welcome along to tonight's late night agenda, where Real Madrid are getting absolutely trounced by Paris Saint-Germain in the Club World Cup semi-final. Place against Chelsea in the final awaits, and it's good to see Madrid getting a bit of a whooping. And I do like one of the comments in the chat. Straight away, somebody said it's going to be good to see Madrid and City have to take off those ridiculous patches that they've had on their shirts, seemingly for an eternity. I won't lie, I'm still a bit salty about the fact that we only got to wear the Club World Cup badges for, was it an FA Cup game or something like that? But we are live tonight, ladies and gentlemen, and we're going to speak about the developing situation around Marc Guéhi, who the bookies have as favourite to go to Newcastle as things stand, but that doesn't necessarily mean that's the outcome of it. We're going to talk about Hugo Ekitike. We're going to discuss the situation with Lucho. We're going to discuss the situation with Darwin Núñez. We're going to talk a little bit about Hugo Ekitike, like we've mentioned, and a few other bits and pieces over the course of the next 90 minutes or so. Patrick, how are we, dude? Said, personally, I would take Guéhi of Ekitike. Well, look, we need both, to be honest with you, mate. We need a striker and we need a centre-back. And I was reading through some of the comments just before we went live, and I understand that people are starting to think, right now, we need to get moving again, because the transfer window is starting to heat up today. We're starting to see more and more deals get done, more and more money get thrown around, and we don't want to stop the momentum, do we? It is a difficult time for the club, clearly, but we have to keep moving forward. We're going to just confirm as well that the game against Preston North End does take place on Sunday. It's going to be a 3 p.m. kickoff. If you're interested in joining us, of course, we'll be live for a watch-along of it, and it will also be shown on ITV. So, again, appreciate you all coming along tonight, and yeah, do let me know if there's any change in the score, by the way. It was 3-0 last I checked in. Right, so where to start tonight, ladies and gentlemen? Well, let's start off, actually, with a name that we can probably rule out. So a couple of people have been speaking about Matteo Retegui of Atalanta and suggesting him, well, he's off to the Saudi Pro League. So we got the Fabrizio Romano, Retegui to Al Qudsiya? Never heard of them. Here we go. Agreement in place with Atalanta for the Italian striker to join the Saudi Pro League. A package up to €67 million with add-ons to Atalanta, and he will earn more than 6 times his current salary over there, which is a serious amount of money. What have we got? Guéhi to Liverpool lock-lick deal last week. I don't know what that means, mate. I have no idea what you're trying to say there. Hey Craig, love the channel and community. Romano latest vid says Newcastle are interested in Ekitike, door open for Isak. No, so Newcastle will have an interest in Ekitike, not as a replacement for Isak, but as a replacement for Callum Wilson, who of course has departed Newcastle. So look, it would also of course be a good cover if indeed they did lose Isak, but no, I wouldn't be reading that into it, David, to be honest, mate. I think it's more a case of Newcastle just needing a striker. Now, they've already committed the £55 million or whatever. I think it was £55 million for Anthony Elanga. I don't know about everybody else, but I'm starting to, and I've got no reason to say this, by the way, I have no information on it, but I'm starting to convince myself we're signing Rodrigo, and I don't know why. I really don't, because I've got no news on it. I've got nothing that you don't know on it. Just in my mind, something just clicked yesterday on the stream when we were talking and people start pointing out the ways we could utilise Rodrigo. And it just got me thinking. And I can't really get it out of my head. Eddie, how are we, dude? Said Craig, would you bring Hugo in before we sold Darwin? Because I would. So, let me put it like this, Eddie. If Liverpool know who they want, and let's say, just for an argument's sake here, it's Hugo EKITIKE, then I think they would make the move if somebody else tried to come in and push a deal through. So, I don't know, like I've always said, mate, I don't know who Liverpool's choice is for the centre forward, but lots of reports today, lots of reports suggesting that Hugo EKITIKE conversations have started. Nico Shearer it was that said that earlier on. Let me just read it for you. It was, Liverpool are currently leading the race to try to sign Hugo EKITIKE from Eintracht Frankfurt. The striker has given his availability for a contract until 2030. Here's the interesting part though, Eddie. Both sides have opened talks, reports Nico Shearer. So I honestly don't know. I've told you guys I've been honest all the way through the summer. I'm not going to be the fella on here to break a story of Liverpool's striker. I don't have any information on it. I'm as intrigued as everybody else. But what I think we need right now is, of course, a centre-back. I see somebody in the chat saying Schlotterbeck. I mentioned Schlotterbeck before and somebody reminded me that he had a serious knee injury, if I'm not mistaken. So that would probably curtail the likelihood of that. Newcastle getting Scalvini instead of Gay, though, said Spency. Well, look, from what I understand, if Liverpool want Mark Gay, he wants Liverpool. That's the information that I have. But what I don't know is where we're at in the search. I don't know if Liverpool have paused, obviously, because of what happened last week with Diogo. I really have no idea. It makes common sense that we go and sign Mark Gay for many reasons. One, good price. Two, we still don't know what's happening with Canade. So, you got to wait and see what happens there. So I think bringing him in would be really good. And I hope that he ends up at Liverpool. But if you look at the bookies right now, the favourites to sign him are Newcastle. 6-4 to go to Newcastle, 7-4 to go to Liverpool. Now that means nothing other than money has gone down on him joining Newcastle, probably steered by the likes of the reports from Sky who said Newcastle haven't given up hope of trying to sign Mark Gay. So I'm certainly not saying by any stretch of the imagination he's off to Newcastle, but when I said favourites, I always back up what I say with some information, and the favourites are that the bookies at the minute anyway have Newcastle down just slightly ahead of Liverpool, but that doesn't mean that Liverpool may not have already have an agreement behind the scenes. So we've heard that Arne Slot had spoken with Mark Gay previously and assured him that he will get the game time going into a World Cup year. And I think he can absolutely guarantee him that game time regardless of what happens with Canade, because we've lost Jarell Kwanzaa and we are going to need another defender. So again, I wouldn't be surprised at all if we pulled the Mark Gay deal out of the hat, but as of right now, that's the current state of play. Craig, this is Teko from Addis Ababa. I don't think Isak's a realistic choice for us because of the insane price by Newcastle, so it's better to look like other options like Alvarez. So from what I understand, mate, and welcome in, by the way, lovely to chat with you, Abba. Or excuse me, sorry, your name was Teko from Addis Ababa. Apologies, mate. So from what I understand, it doesn't look like, one, he's available. I don't think Atleti want to sell him. And two, I don't think he wants to come back to the UK because of the old weather. So I don't think that one's likely, personally. But I love Alvarez, mate. And I agree with you on the price of Isak. I've always felt it was unlikely, but not impossible. And I probably still feel that way. It's going to take him telling Newcastle he wants to leave for anything to happen. And there's no indication we're at that point yet. But I do also agree with everybody else. Like, there's only so much kind of waiting and observing of the market we can do in some positions. I think we do have a bit more time for a striker, but, I really do think we need to get moving with a centre-back personally. Andrew, how are we, my friend? Said, evening, Craig. Think we should have a go at Isak. If that falls through, go get EKITIKE. If Diaz goes, Canade and money for Rodrigo. What are your thoughts? Well, that would be a great outcome if we were to lose Canade. It would. I'd be far more open to the idea of losing Canade in an exchange like that for Rodrigo. But here's what I don't want. And I mentioned this in our Discord group. I don't want to see another player leave Liverpool for free. It's one thing letting the likes of a Bobby Firmino go, a player right at the end of his career. But if you let Canade walk out the door with no fee brought back in, it's just wrong, in my opinion. And look, I understand we're in a bit of a predicament at the minute. We don't have options at centre-back at the minute. Canade's there, we've Gomez, we've got Van Dijk. Other than that, you've got youngsters. So we do need to bring in a centre-back. And if you could do a deal like that, I wouldn't be against it. I would always prefer not to do business with Real Madrid where possible, but I don't know, the idea of Rodrigo coming in would be very exciting, especially if we do maybe not play necessarily just all the time or even ever with an out-and-out striker. Craig, when do you think we'll get the training photos from the club? Honestly, mate, I don't know. It's obviously a very sensitive situation. I don't know what's going to happen. Thank you. And happy birthday. Happy 50th, mate. So if anybody wants to pop along and buy Sheriff Torchwood a pint, you know what to do. And thank you, my friend. Appreciate you and happy birthday to you. 3rd of August, Weatherspoons, Bidford, North Devon. There you go. Thank you, sir. I'm wishing you many happy returns, of course. Big up, Craig. Great work as always. Thank you, Joy. Appreciate you, my man. Welcome in. Right, let's start this conversation. So, one sec. Would you offer Canate as a make-weight? Is that the right word? In a deal for Rodrigo. So, there's too many letters in that one, Craigo. Yes, no. One second. Okay. Right, so would you offer Canade as a make-weight in a deal for Rodrigo? Yes, no, or we can't lose Canade this summer. I think that covers pretty much most options. Oh, it's 4-0 now, is it? 4-0. 4-0. God. Imagine running over to join them and getting whooped 4-0. They hadn't beat us on penalties and we were unfortunate there, but, not for everybody. Why is Trent not playing? I think he had an injury. I don't really care, to be honest. It would have been funny watching Kvaratskhelia run rings around him, but yeah, I don't know. But I do like the idea that finally we're going to get to see Man City and Real Madrid stop wearing those goddamn gold badges, which seem to have been on their shirts for a lifetime now. Is Rodrigo likely to leave? I think so, yeah. Like today, as an example, right? Today was the 5th consecutive time at the Club World Cup that he was on the bench. It's not great for him, is it? And it says here from Romano, his future will be assessed from next week with Real Madrid exit a concrete possibility. So, if you're Rodrigo, it certainly feels like your card has been marked here in the Club World Cup, that you're not getting a look in to start. And to be fair, that Madrid team looked all over the shop tonight. They really looked like they hadn't got a clue what the manager wanted them to do. They didn't look like they had the energy at all to live with Paris Saint-Germain, who were absolutely ripping them to shreds. It was glorious. Honestly, this passing and moving through midfield from Paris Saint-Germain at times really was something to behold. Colin, I haven't missed your super chat yet, mate. I keep saying this to people. Give me a minute. You sent a super chat 4 minutes ago. I'm in the middle of a spiel. I can't just run and jump straight to a comment. I'll get there. On MSN, Hendo's left Ajax. Okay. Is he coming back to Sunderland, Colin? I think I remember that was being spoken about, bro. Yeah, I don't know if that happens, but I remember it was certainly being spoken about, a move back to Sunderland. All good, Colin. All good. If I do go like 5-10 minutes and don't, by all means, bro, give me a nudge. Do you know what? Today, and you can probably sense it in my demeanor, by the way, today's the first day I've kind of started to feel normal somewhat again. I don't know if anybody else is the same, but today just, I don't know, today felt like a turning point or something. I just feel like I'm coming back around a little bit and starting to feel more like myself. May tragedy push GUEHI to happier environment? So, I don't think so, no. I think it won't change anything in that regard. Like Liverpool's going to be a club in mourning for a bit. There's no denying that, but I don't think it's going to be a bad environment. I think it will be an environment where they look to unite together to make something special out of the season, Sicily Bambolina. But look, Newcastle have a long-standing interest in Mark GUEHI. That much we know. Like they've put bids in from in January, but you know, I feel like surely if we want him, he comes to Liverpool. I know that sounds really arrogant, right? But like, there's a spot there for him. It makes sense. You know, we don't know what's happening with Canade, and if we brought in Mark GUEHI and Canade was then sold, I think that allows us to bring in a younger defender then to replace him, because we've already kind of got the experienced guy in with Mark GUEHI, who yet still only 24. So I hope that happens, because it makes a lot of sense. Craig, do you think Nunez will leave? 100% yes. 100% yes. In fact, I think we may be getting to a point where Napoli could get to the realistic price. So they look like they've got the deal agreed with Galatasaray for Victor Osimhen. So yeah, it looks like maybe could happen. Ryan, how are we, dude? And thank you for being with us as a member. You said, do you think we make another statement signing? Yes. I do get the feeling we'll get one. Now, it depends, I guess, what you call a statement. I'd call, let's say, Rodrigo a statement. Isak, obviously, a statement. I don't know, would you class EKITIKE as a statement? You know, it's certainly going to cost serious money, so... Mark Trent didn't play, bro. He didn't play. He had a boo-boo, so he was unable to play. Just the 4-0, though. Just the 4-0. Lee Cole said, PSG are scarily good. Luis Enrique got them playing beautiful football. Lee, it's the energy as well, dude. Like, they're just at it, aren't they? They've got pace all over the park as well. Like, Nuno Mendes flying down that left side is something to behold. And what really sticks to me about PSG is it feels like they're almost playing like computer game football at times. Just bang, move, bang, triangle, and they're open through midfield. Bang, 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 and they're gone. They're good. They are. They're good. And deserving of their Champions League this season. Deserving of, you know, the result there against Madrid tonight. You can't deny them. They're a really good team. It'll be interesting to see the Super Cup between them and Spurs. That'll be an interesting one. Although, to be fair today, and I'm sure you're aware of this, there was an agreement there with Spurs to sign Mo Kudus. He's going to Spurs by the looks of it. Romano said he only wants them. It's funny how a lot of these players only want the only club that's in for them, isn't it? Isn't that really funny? Like the way you watch Sky sometimes, and you make out like Mateus Cunha had Real Madrid, Barcelona, Liverpool, Arsenal, Chelsea, Man City all looking for him, and United weren't the only club. You know, he wants Man United, yeah, because they're the only people that are going to pay the 62.5 million. That always makes me chuckle when I watch some of these reports. Hey Craig, top 3 centre-backs you'd like to see us bring in if we lose Canade, assuming we sign GUEHI. If we lose Canada and we sign GUEHI, like you've said, you'd have to be looking at a Jarell Haddo as an example. You know, a good, accomplished young defender. with still lots of time ahead of him. There was that young kid that I don't know much about, but of course we mentioned yesterday on the stream, the guy from Italy, what's his name again? Giovanni Leone. So last night, Alex Crook reported that Liverpool are showing interest in teenage star Giovanni Leone. He's one of Italy's biggest prospects, who is 18 years of age and is 6'4". Whatever happened to the Haddo interest? It's still there, Ken, but let me put it to you like this. Liverpool's plan was initially to sell Kwanzaa and get that younger defender, like you've said. But with the uncertainty about what's happening with Kanade, I think Liverpool have to be coy about this. And that's why I think the Mark A situation has made sense. But the interest is there in Haddo, and not just from us, you know. But he did say himself as well that he feels at home at Ajax, and, you know, he is still really young, so you wouldn't begrudge him if he wanted another year there to develop either. Nkapie said smooth operator. Inacio said Luke. What's the selling price you'd take for Darwin, said Rory. If you got 60 million euro, I'd bite their hand off if I'm Liverpool. But of course, I'm not Michael Edwards and Richard Hughes, who probably feel there's a few more quid in there, and fair play if they get it. But I think 60 million euro for me, which is about what, 53 million pound. I think if you get that, you shake a hand and you say, thank you very much, that'll do, and move on. Craig, I'm genuinely worried about EKITIKE. I've heard he's Núñez 2.0 with regards to finishing. Just hoping that's wrong if we sign him. I trust the club to make the right decision. I trust the club to make the right decision as well, but I've always been honest with you and said I've not watched enough live games of Hugo EKITIKE to give a definitive answer one way or the other. Craig, is Rob to Atleti officially off? Yes, I believe so. They've signed another left wing back, so I don't believe that there's anything to that. I hope Andy Robertson wants to stay for another season. I really do. You know, him and Milos would be brilliant options at left side, and I would personally sell Costas for a few reasons. One, I think we get more money because of his age, obviously, and length of contract. And two, I think Robbo playing for another contract, you're going to get the best out of him, because he's not going to want to give up the starting place to Milos Kerkez, you know, straight away. He's a battler. He's a spirited man. So I think he wants to battle and help as well, because, you know, Kerkez is going to need time to settle in. What happened about Nathan Collins? Again, there's nothing has happened with anybody yet. It's just obviously with the very tragic events of last week, the club are kind of silent at the minute. You know, if you look, there's not really any new links coming out yet for Liverpool. So things are still a bit quiet in that regard. So options are all still on the table. Nathan Collins will be there, like you've said, so far. Mark Gay is there. Jarell Hatter was one to keep an eye on. You know, very credible names mentioned in the chat there as well, from the likes of Schlotterbeck, who had that injury, Inacio, Nkapie, all credible names, but I don't know. You know, I made you one promise at the start of the summer. I told you we would sign Frimpong, Kerkez and Wirtz. And it wasn't all plain sailing, but all three of them came through, and that was the promise I gave to you. After that, I told you, if I know something, I'll tell you. If I don't, I won't lie to you. And I don't know the centre-back and centre-forward situations as things currently stand. I don't know who the primary targets are. I just don't, outside of maybe Guess and Isak. Get Barcola. Honestly, I don't want Barcola. Every time I watch Barcola, and I'm not saying there isn't something about him. There is, clearly. But he feels like he needs 4 chances to score one. And I don't want to sit through more of that. So we have Diaz, who never quite lived up to Mane. I don't want to throw in somebody like Barcola for 100-odd million, who, again, misses 70% of the opportunities that he has. He just doesn't seem composed enough yet. Now, I know you're going to say to me, but Craig, he scored whatever amount of goals he scored last year. And I know it was a significant amount, but I can only give you an opinion based off what I see when I watch him. But, my opinion doesn't really matter. Madueke to Arsenal is hilarious. It definitely is one of those that I'm a little bit confused by. Like, does Mikel Arteta see something that we're all missing out on here? Madueke, but it's a significant fee. What is it, upwards of 50 million quid? I don't know. It feels again, it's not a signing that has me sitting here quaking in my boots. Like, obviously, the signing of Zubamendi is a really good signing. He's a good footballer. I'm not going to rewrite history on that one. But Norgard, okay, decent enough to bring in for fairly reasonable money. Madueke is not really making me shit myself. And Gyökeres, he's doing okay, but he's also shown a bit of a snidey side as well with the way that he's refusing to go back and train with Sporting Lisbon or report back for pre-season. Although, to be fair, they aren't due yet. I think they're due Friday for pre-season, if my memory's right. Would you take Tony on a season loan? No, nor would he come back because he'd lose all the tax benefit that he'd had going over to Saudi. So, from what I remember, Colin, I think I remember reading this around the Jordan Henderson situation. That's probably why we didn't see John Duran come back either. I think you have to be out of the UK for 2 full calendar years before you're able to see the full benefit of the tax-free money from Saudi. Now, if I'm wrong on that, I apologise, but I think I'm right on it. Stevie boy, how are we, dude? Any news on Elliott, Chiesa and Costas moving on? So Elliott, look, I think we know there's going to be a lot of interest in Harvey, and I think Liverpool are going to get what they're asking there. Brighton, West Ham, Newcastle, a couple of Bundesliga clubs. I think Liverpool will get their money there. I've heard nothing new on Chiesa whatsoever, and I've actually heard nothing outside of the very early stuff around Leeds for Costas. But again, it doesn't mean it isn't going to happen, But I don't know when Liverpool are going to click back into gear and start the transfer merry-go-round again. Elwin said LFC pushed Paris Saint-Germain, unlike Arteta, will slot what more? Yes. Like, look at how complimentary, Elwin, that Arna was to PSG. I think he'd like us to play in a very similar way. And if we can put the personnel in, why not? I mean, that PSG midfield's a thing of beauty. And you look at the midfield options that we now have with the club as well. It's exciting times, but as good of a start to the window as we've had, and we're not done. We have to see through this and, make sure that we don't get caught sleeping, for want of a better phrase. Craig, I find it surprising that not many clubs are in the race for Šeško. You think that a player with that talent, clubs will be chomping at the bit. I totally get where you're coming from. I think the price tag has probably surprised maybe a few that they're being pretty stiff on that. 85 million euro feels a lot, but I agree. I think he's a really good player, big physical presence. Like yourself, I'm surprised the clubs haven't been queuing up to throw money at them. Right. So, we've nearly got to 2,000 votes. If you haven't, do take a second and vote for us, please. We're asking you, would you offer Canade as a make-weight in a deal for Rodrigo? Yes, no, or we can't lose Canade this summer. So, I'm all up for the whole we can't lose Canade this summer, but I can't see him walking away for free. That would really do my head in. Like, we're then basically saying that keeping him for one season is worth 35 million to us. It isn't. I just, you can say to me, but Craig, what if he's the difference between this and that? He isn't. He isn't going to be the difference between this or that because I don't think he's irreplaceable. I'd like him to stay. I hope he stays. But I can't see another player walk out the door for free. You got to either renew or sell, in my opinion, this summer. Itachi, how are we, sir? How are you, Craig? Besides the 3 signings we've done, I hope we don't weaken the team through too many sales. Forever number 20. I'm good, thank you, mate. Today's the first day we're getting back to some feeling of normality. I don't know if that coincided with, Connor being back yesterday as well, and we're back working and we've sorted out a few bits behind the scenes, but starting to feel a little bit more normal. But I tell you what, I can't sleep. I was still up at 10 o'clock this morning. I can't get sleep for some reason. But apart from that, I'm doing all right, mate. Thank you for asking. And I can't see us weakening the team through too many sales. The club will know. There will be sales, but we've always known there's going to be sales. But yeah, you're right. I don't see a way we leave ourselves short. Ahmed said, centre-back pairing is critical. Canade, 26. VVD said he's better than them at this stage. Yeah, but he isn't. Let's be honest. I like Canade and I hope he stays. But he isn't a Virgil van Dijk. And at 26, I disagree. I think Virgil was better. At 26, I think Virgil was just being nice and kind there. Yeah. When would Liverpool start playing of this season? Sorry, mate. I'm not trying to be rude. I'm confused a little bit by the question. So obviously, first pre-season friendly is this weekend against Preston, 3 p.m. on Sunday. I don't know, mate, if I've misconstrued another part of what we've been asking, or if the first game of the season's a home on a Friday night, if that helps either. Luke said, Craig, I agree with you. Canade is a very good player, but to lose him on a free is not worth it. VVD would be good with anyone. Well, look, Mark Gay would be an adequate or more than adequate replacement. And of course, we can't sleep on Gomez being fit either. Because Joe Gomez being fit will give us a really big help. Because if you look at the end of the last season, we had Canade, Virgil, and then Kwanzaa, who the manager clearly didn't trust all that much. Didn't really have too many options at centre-back. Angie, always lovely to see you in, my friend. You disappoint me. Oh, no, isn't it you that calls me young Craig? Sorry, Angie, it's somebody else. My apologies. Hey, Craig, sending love to you and the family. I'm still struggling and hope Diogo will have a big flag flying in his memory on the Kop. Oh, he will. He will. You know the Kop will make sure of that. And look, I'm not surprised you're struggling. I think, like I said the other day, Angie, it doesn't feel real. Like, as football fans, we're used to seeing players depart, leave and go off elsewhere and not be part of our sphere or environment. But for the finality of that situation, of course, it doesn't feel fair and it doesn't feel real, is what I'd say. So I hope that you start to come back around quickly, because, I think it's hit a lot of people a bit more. Even myself, I was saying the other day, it definitely impacted me more than I would have thought if somebody gave me a hypothetical last year. Definitely did set me back further than I thought, Angie. Right, let's end this poll anyway. So, 76% said yes, that they would use Ibrahima Konate in a make-weight deal for Rodrigo this summer. 13% said no, and then 10%, I think maybe it was 11 actually, with the 1% that they rob, said we can't lose Konate this summer. So, what if I said this to you, right? Would you lose Konate this summer if we signed Mark Gay and Joel Haddo? Would that ease your concerns for the window? If Konate went as a make-weight, let's say in the deal, just for a hypothetical, and Liverpool brought in Mark Gay and Joel Haddo, I mean, surely then you'd have to think, okay, yeah, I'll take that, because I know I would. So, and that's possible. That's why I brought it up. Like, I'm not saying it's happening. I really don't know. But it's absolutely possible that it could happen. I think it will come down to what way this situation plays out with Konate. Does he dig his heels in and say he's leaving in a year for free? Does he find common ground with Liverpool on a contract extension? we'll have to wait and see how that one pans out. Which is why I think signing Mark Guéhi would just be a clever play either way. Adam, how are we, dude? Said, for me, not seeing much value in the striker market, but we have to buy one, so I'm not going to be mad if we sign an overpriced striker if it's the one that the club wants. So I guess there's two ways to look at it, Adam, right? So there's also less clubs now who are going to be looking, because Chelsea have got in João Pedro. Osimhen has now gone over to Galatasaray. Arsenal look like they're getting Gyökeres. So we probably have a bit less competition in that market as well. So maybe Liverpool taking their time and observing the market might actually help us in a weird way. But I can't get the Rodrigo thing out of my head since last night, where somebody said, like, what if we do a PSG on it and we don't play with an out-and-out 9? We play with a Rodrigo, let's say, or we play with a false 9. I can see a world where maybe that happens along with Dan's as well, but I would say, though, I'd still like us to bring in, even if it's another young striker at that point. Where are we? This one, sorry. Mitchell said, I still can't believe Jota's gone, was top man. I know, mate, it just doesn't feel real, does it? Even just watching a clip or something, or looking up and seeing him on the TV, still can't imagine that you won't see him live again, if you get me, or you won't see any new clips or highlights either. It's going to take, the new normal is definitely going to take some getting used to. So, how's everybody feeling about the Canade situation? Is anybody starting to get a bit annoyed by it, or are you still of the mindset that we really don't truly know what's happening? All that we know is the mouthpieces for Madrid are saying the usual. That Canade wants Madrid, he'll run his contract down. I don't know how to feel about it, because I don't want to jump the gun on it. And like, if he does want to go to Madrid, I'm not going to lie, it's going to really annoy me. But I don't want to throw a player under a bus yet, because unlike Trent, whose body language and lots of other stuff, you could see from a mile away what he wants to do. I don't know. I'm not at that point of being absolutely certain with Canada yet. Itachi said, I feel you, Craig. It does feel so unreal. It's just like Salah said on Instagram, teammates come and go, but not like this. Yeah, exactly, mate. And look, we know now that they've had a couple of days back at the AXA. We also know, as I'm sure you're aware, that friendly is coming up this weekend against Preston. It's going to be on ITV. Also, there was a couple of fixture changes as well. The Newcastle game is now going to be on Monday, August 25th, 8 p.m. And the Liverpool-Arsenal game is Sunday, August 31st at 4:30. Just in case anybody's travelling to those games or whatever. So Newcastle away is Monday, August 25th, 8 o'clock. Liverpool-Arsenal will be on Sky at 4:30, Sunday, August 31st. Would I take Šeško at Liverpool? Yes, I would, Jack. I've said this before as well. I don't really talk about him too much because there hasn't been many links in the media, but I would. It's a really good question, actually, and one I want to ask the chat. Because we don't really talk about Šeško too much on here, so 1 second, mate. Cool. So, would you take Šeško at Liverpool? Yay or nay? Right, ladies and gentlemen, again, a couple of shameless plugs here. Our last ever show at Liverpool. Tickets on sale Sunday, 19th of October. All ages event. Priced at just £15, £15. Last ever stage show. If you want to come and see us, Liverpool, the weekend of the Manchester United game. And also, If you haven't yet, do scan the QR code there and join the Anfield Agenda WhatsApp community, which is almost at 7,500 people at this point. And thank you to everyone that signed up so far. Great to get St James's Park out of the way. It's going to be a tough one though, Ryan. I think that's Newcastle's first home game. So yeah, it's going to be a tough one. Going to St James's Park, especially under the lights, is difficult. But you know, if you want to win the league, you got to take these difficult games on head on. And with seeing the way the fixtures have fallen, I feel like we can start slowly. So it kind of almost makes me feel like we need to get the business done early to give Arna as much time as possible to make sure that we do hit the ground running. Kaz, thank you. Kaz Marks, appreciate you. Andrew Webb said, "Hi Craig, how are you? Is GUEHI going to Newcastle? If he does, who would you bring in?" So the title of tonight's stream was based off the betting odds, which show that slightly Newcastle are favourites to sign Mark A at 6-4, Liverpool at 7-4. But that just means that's where the money has gone. A lot of people in the chat seem to feel that he's nailed on to come to Liverpool. I probably agree, but I don't know it factually. You know, I'm just going off gut feeling. I don't have news or information on that one. But if Liverpool want him, I'd be amazed if he doesn't come to Liverpool. I know that sounds arrogant, but I think it should. You know, we're Premier League champions, and we're after making some damn good signings. Corbin said that PSG team are unbelievable, but not unbeatable. Yeah, they're really good. It's going to take a team to really get up on their face and just not give them time to play out, or you're going to have to be at your best to beat them. And, you know, we came close last year, lost on penalties. They were deserving winners, I think, of the tie over the two legs. But you're right, mate. They're a really impressive outfit. I think we should give Darwin one more chance. Why? He'd just miss it. Look, I don't understand what some people need to see more from Darwin. He's had 2.5 seasons. He's had 2 different coaches. He's had so many opportunities. What's going to change? His attitude stinks. Stinks. So there's no change in it. He's not good enough. It's, you know, it is what it is. There's no other way to sugarcoat it. The dude's just not good enough for us. Best to sell. You know, we can keep doing this every year and say we'll give him one more chance, and then we're 5 games into the season and he's again still hasn't learned the offside trap, and we're back to square one and we're all arguing with each other over it. And just no. It will be what I'd say, mate. He just has to go. What's this one? Craig, I want to become a member, long-time subscriber, watch all live, but it isn't possible in my country and I can't get access to all the contents. You can. There's nothing that isn't available, mate. Everything is available to everybody. And the podcast that we're going to be starting to record from, I think Monday, actually, we're going to do the first episode. That will go out earlier to members, but other than that, my man, you'll see everything. Appreciate your support. Sorry, where was I? This one. Harry said, "Hi Craig, do you think all the incomings will be done before the first game of the season?" I don't know, mate. I don't know. Obviously, the window's open till 1st September, I think it is. Don't know. Always felt like there might be a late movement on the striker, but ideally I'd like it done as early as possible, Harry. You know, give Arnott as much time as he can. Lee, how are we, dude? Said, seems like deja vu with Canade. Don't want to deal with another season of this again. We had to make a stand. I'm the same, Lee. I'm the very same, mate. It's just not, it's tiring. And I said last year, and I'm only speaking for myself, it just feels like it took away a little bit from the enjoyment last year for me. Where was this one? Mark asked me there. I think I missed this one from Aaron. So it was, hope you and the family are well. A dream scenario for me is Ibu sold, brought in Collins with Diaz, sold for Gordon. Apologies that I missed that one. Aaron Woodell, sorry mate. Yeah, I like I said, Lee, for me it took away some of the enjoyment of last season when we had to constantly look at these rumours all the way through the season. And not just for one player, but for three. Thankfully, two of them stayed, but yeah, I don't want another season of that, mate. Jamie Allen, appreciate you, my man. Thank you for the kind words. Studley said, any news on the likelihood of Chiesa staying? So the only thing I know is what Romano said, that he wants to go back to Italy, or he wants to go to get game time. And look, even in a best case scenario, if we feel that Arna will play him a bit more, I still don't think he's going to get the amount of game time that would get him back into the Italian side to start. And I think that is the aim for him under Gattuso, the new manager. So I just feel it's almost certainly leaves. But again, like many of you, I like Chiesa. So if he stays, happy days. But it just feels like he's going to go. Now, actually, while we're talking about that, let me just read out this. So Pipe Tierra, I believe it is, said, there's a gentleman's agreement between Diaz and Liverpool to allow him to leave the club without a problem for 80 million euro. I think that's probably about right. 80, 85 million euro. It's about 70 million pound. That sounds about right. So let's wait and see if Bayern or Barca or Al Nassr or whoever want them. My thought process would be, don't drag it out and mess about, because Liverpool will just say no, because if Liverpool have to go find a replacement, then they're going to want as much time as possible. So one of those clubs best put their 80 million euro down on the table quickly or stop wasting everyone's time. Why is it the last show are you quitting? Quitting doing them shows, yes. I get really, really, really bad anxiety and nerves doing them. So I don't want to put myself through them anymore. But, I'll be here for the foreseeable, mate. Not doing that, no changes with that. But just with regards to doing those shows on the stage, that'll be the last one. VR Flex, welcome to Anfield Agenda FC, bro. Appreciate you. Ali Martin said, Craig, if you ever decide to come to New Zealand, would love to buy you a pint, mate. Keep up the great work. Thank you. Definitely do want to get to Australia and New Zealand for my 50th. It's always been my life goal to get over there for a good solid 4 to 6 weeks, but for my 50th birthday. So you'll have to bear with me a bit longer, my man, but hopefully do get over there, and a pint of Diet Coke will do if it's on offer. Cannot wait for the first friendly match. Yeah, it'll be nice to obviously it's going to be heavy going because it'll be the first game back since Diogo's passing, but it'll be good to see the lads back out there on the pitch again, definitely. Have you heard the Rihanna tribute song? I haven't heard it, but I've heard of it. I just haven't listened to it. Lewis Wildig said, are you streaming for the Preston match? Absolutely, mate. Yeah, we'll be live probably either half an hour or 45 minutes beforehand, but we'll absolutely be covering it. Do we know if... What's this one? Do we know if Wirtz is back in training? Yes, he is. All the new guys were back in training. That was confirmed by the Echo the other day. Nazar said, hey Craig, you've helped me through the hardest week I've had in a while. Still have a good and bad days, as we all do, but every day you're getting better. Yeah, I think that probably summarises my feelings as well, mate. You guys have helped me through a lot of this stuff, and certainly today feels like the first day I'm starting to feel any form of normality again. Frimpong's cooking, by the way. Has everyone seen those videos? Yeah, he looks he looks lightning fast, to be honest with you. Right, let's check on this. So we asked, would you take Benjamin Šeško at Liverpool? Still time to vote. It's close enough. We've had about 1,000 votes on it so far. So question is, would you take Benjamin Šeško at Liverpool? Yes or no? Petter said Craig will be winning on Sunday. Petter's a Chelsea fan. Respectfully, Petter, not a hope in hell in my opinion. And that's not an anti-Chelsea thing. That's you've seen how good they are. But if you win it, mate, fair play. You know, you've already earned, I think, about £80 million from the tournament or something along those lines. And done well. Look, it's the easier side of the draw, let's be honest about it. But no begrudging for me. You got to the final, fair play. But it'll take a performance to beat that PSG team, because I feel like even if they go 2-0 down, they still have it in them to just turn it on and blow you away. They're just really good. So, we just have this as well. Breaking here. Former Liverpool and Ajax captain Jordan Henderson is set for a shocking comeback to boyhood club Sunderland as their eyes set on Premier League survival. So, we were talking about that earlier on in the video, and yeah. Daniel said, Romano said, Newcastle have an interest in EKITIKE. Maybe he wants to leave the club. No, EKITIKE would be looked at by Newcastle as the second striker. You know, they wanted João Pedro, didn't get him, and neither of them, to the best of my understanding, were wanted as a replacement for Isak. It was as a replacement for Wilson, who's left, and just to give them more options. But, you know, I'd love it to be the case that Isak's available. I just really don't think he is. So somebody else said the Rihanna song is fake. As I said, I haven't seen it, so can't really speak to it, but heard of the existence of it. No way EKITIKE comes in as a second striker. Sorry, I may have worded that incorrectly. What I didn't mean to say was that he wouldn't play. Like, Newcastle might play with two, for all I know. Like, they could play with two lads up top, or EKITIKE on the left side of the attack, or the right side of the attack, or behind a little bit. I didn't mean to say second striker. I meant as the club's second striker. Is Osimhen better than Šeško and EKITIKE? I can't answer on EKITIKE, but I would take Šeško over Osimhen because, again, he's younger. And there's something about Osimhen which always just makes me feel a little bit unsure. Runa said, hello, Craig. Dude from Norway here. I can't believe I haven't seen your show before now. Just wanted to say I love it. Tell everyone I know here about you. Much love from Norway. Thank you, mate. Really appreciate that. I know we've got an amazing following of Norwegian Reds. Appreciate you. Thank you. It always shocks me as well that this may be sounding arrogant, but because we've been doing this now 7 or 8 years, it kind of shocks me that people don't know of us yet, like even as a clip or something, you know. But I really do appreciate you spreading the word, my man. Thank you. Does someone know if you can watch the friendly against Preston on LFC TV? I don't believe so. I think ITV have the rights to it, Samuel, which is a free to air, so you might be able to tune it in on the old satellite or whatever if you don't have it in your part of the world, or maybe you need an old Surf Shark, you know, an old Surf Shark. But it's on ITV. Craig, does your Irish team play in some type of European qualifiers? Yes, they were 1-0 up last I checked against Linfield tonight. I just didn't see it was about 6 minutes left when I started setting up for the stream, so I don't know what the final score was, but it was Shelburne 1, Linfield 0 last I checked in. Would you pick Šeško over EKITIKE? Again, I can't give you an honest answer, Smooth Operator, because I haven't watched too much of EKITIKE to really know. Lewis said, hopefully we see the new lads against Preston. I have no idea what to expect. Probably 3 lots of 30 minutes is where my head's at. That is usually the way we start to see these early preseason games go. Liverpool should not be held ransom by players, goes free agent, sell Canada ASAP. I know, but you can't force a guy into being sold either. You know, you might have to play the hardball, like I've said, and say, well, if you want to go to the World Cup, mate, best move this summer because we're going to move on, and you know our plan will be that you'll be bottom of the pecking order, because we have to look to the future. That's the way I'd like Liverpool to deal with Canada if he doesn't want to agree a new deal. But like I said, I'm not ready yet to go in on anyone because I don't know what way it's going to work out. What about Mateta? No, thank you. I just don't think he's the right fit for us. And also, I would imagine we'd have to dramatically overpay to get him out of Crystal Palace. Has anyone mentioned Brian Broberry from Ajax? No, not seen his name mentioned. Tomato, mate. Not seen it. Right, let's check in. Still, plenty of time to vote on this one. We're asking about Benjamin Šeško. Would you take him at Liverpool? Also, if you haven't hit that like button for me, you know what to do. Let's try and get it up to 1,000 if we can. Help the old algorithm. And thank you, by the way. We passed 331,000 subscribers yesterday or today at some point. I can't remember. But thank you again for your support. Right, let me just make sure I haven't missed any of my few bits of news here. So Ornstein speaking last night on Sky said, let's see what Isak wants to do when they return to pre-season training. What his mindset is, Liverpool would like to try and walk through the door to sign him, but Newcastle don't intend to open the door. We did the Rodrigo stuff from Romano where he said, on the bench for the 5th consecutive time in this Club World Cup, his future will be assessed from next week with Real Madrid exit a concrete possibility. Hugo Ekitike keeps attracting interest from Premier League sides with Newcastle keen on the striker. More Premier League clubs remain also informed on the situation after Liverpool and Chelsea calls in June. Al Hilal and is it Qadsiya called in recent weeks, but his priority is Europe. Well, actually, on that club, Al Qadsiya, they've just agreed that deal that I mentioned earlier on to sign Retegui from Atalanta for €67 million. Then we spoke about the gentleman's agreement between Luis Diaz and Liverpool, according to reports in Germany that say Liverpool have a gentleman's agreement to allow him to leave with no problems for €80 million. Nico Shearer said Liverpool are currently leading the race to try to sign Hugo Ekitike from Eintracht Frankfurt. The striker is given his availability for a contract until 2030. Both sides have open talks. That's where we are on that one. Mohammed said Al Hilal. I was talking about Al Qadsiya. Is it QU? How do I pronounce this one? Qadsiah. Mate, I don't know how that one's pronounced. Sorry. So, again, looks like it's bad news for Crystal Palace in the Europa League because Lyon will not be relegated to the second tier of French football. They'd won that appeal and that decision is being confirmed. Osimhen has accepted deal. Galatasaray. Options are Ekitike, Šeško and Rodrigo. Look, I love the idea. Actually, do you know what? Let's just put that to a poll. Who you want? We'll give you all the options, right? All the realistic options. So let's end this one. So it's close, but 54% of people said that they take Šeško. So let's ask. One sec. Pick one. Right, so let's go this way. Let's go that one. Let's go And let's go. There's one more. Are we really serious with Sheshko? No, not at all, mate. I have no idea. Right, so 1 sec. I'm just trying to think through options here. I need one more striker name who's semi-realistic. So I've got Rodrigo, EKITIKE. I know Rodrigo wasn't a striker, by the way, but I've got Rodrigo, EKITIKE, Sheshko. I need one more realistic striker that maybe we've been linked with to put in the poll. Obviously, no point in saying Isak because, you know, Osimhen's gone to Galatasaray by the looks of it, so no point in talking about him. Alvarez doesn't. Voltmada looks like Bayern Munich bound. Callum Wilson, I'd rather play up front. I think I'd be better. Oh yeah, that's an interesting one. I'm going to go with that one, thank you. Because he was linked. Cool. Right, so there's 4 options. And again, I'm not trying to say this is the only ones we're looking at, but pick one of these. Rodrigo, EKITIKE, Sheshko, or Gonzalo Ramos, who apparently could be available. Gyökeres ain't coming, mate. He's going to Arsenal by the looks of it. That looks like it's getting closer and closer. Craig, do you think if we got Rodrigo, his wages would outstrip Wirtz and some of our other higher paid players? I don't even know what he's on at Real Madrid, mate, to be honest with you. And again, I would imagine he'd be upwards of 200 grand, all right, but I don't know the exact amount. So this just in, Anfield Edition reporting from Norwich City are considering a move to bring Lewis Kumas to the club on loan, according to this one. So thank you, Mark, for sending me on that. Right, I just have to update something on my side here. Oh, I don't need to do it on that. Yeah, sorry. So yeah, that's a potential destination on a loan move there for Lewis Kumas. I'd like to see him go a bit higher than Norwich, if I'm being honest. If we're talking about a player that could potentially play for Liverpool someday, I'd like to see him in Germany or somewhere rather than in the Championship. I don't like Ramos. Every time I've seen him, he's been wasteful. So the only reason I brought his name up is because there was a link from, I want to say it was Sam Maguire on Anfield Watch a while back that said that he was one of the options that Liverpool had looked at. Ryan said, Craig, quick one, is Cade Gordon still at the club? He is, mate, yes. Bradley Barcola? No. I'm telling you, lads, if we sign Barcola, you'd lose your shit with the amount of chances he misses. He's really good in loads of things, but every time I see this lad in front of goal, he seems to need 4 chances to score. And he's definitely got a touch of the old jitters about him in front of goal. And I know he scored a load of goals last year, by the way, but it just makes you wonder how many he could have scored. Craig, apparently the Newcastle fans plan to sing You'll Never Walk Alone when we go there in unison with our fans. Respect to them. Oh, look, I've always said the Geordies are a classy fan base, Angie, and wouldn't surprise me at all if they made that gesture. And I'm sure it'll be very much appreciated as well. And thank you for bringing that to our attention, Angie. Rodrigo be another winger in our squad. See, the idea, Zane, though, wouldn't be to play him as a winger. So the way we're talking about him here, it'd be kind of like looking at the way Dembele plays through the centre at times for PSG. Whereas we'd have 3 players basically across the front line that could mingle, that could drop deep, that could make space for a late run in behind. That's the way we're kind of discussing about him in this conversation anyway. Rodrigo's on €200,000 a week. He wants 250 to 300k. Well, what's that then? €200,000 but £140,000. it's not out of the realms of possibility. Can Doak play a part in the squad? Again, injuries have really, really curtailed his development. I just don't. Oh, Doak. Sorry, I was getting confused again. We were talking about Craig Houlden a minute ago. Sorry. Unless something has changed from the last time I got any information on him, the plan was to sell him. And again, I agree with the way things are looking now. Maybe if Chiesa leaves, why not give him an opportunity for at least the first half of next season? Keep Ben Doak around because he's an option. And we know Salah as well has the AFCON coming up, so I wouldn't be against it. But the last I'd heard, the plan was to sell. So people are saying now it's not €200,000. Well, that was what was written when I read it out, but obviously probably just a mistake. So, £200,000 a week. I guess the argument you make for Rodrigo is, here's your basic pay. Let's say you keep it what he's on now, but with bonuses, and say you're going to win. You're going to prove to us that you deserve this money, and here's the option to get to that money. That's the way I'd be pitching it to him, because right now he wants to play because he's not playing enough at Real Madrid. So you say to him, look, we give you that platform to play ahead of a World Cup year as well, with a new manager in with Brazil and Ancelotti, who obviously knows about him. And you say, we'll give you this salary with the possibility, like HEATS, to click these bonuses and get up into the type of territory you're talking about. That's what I would imagine the pitch should be if you're looking to talk to him. Abdullah said, just had an idea with 4-2-2-2, Jones and Gravenbergs the DMs, Verts and Soboslais as cams. Why wouldn't you have Maka and Gravenberg in the deeper roles? That would make far more sense than Jones. Verts and Soboslai then ahead of them, like you said. I think it would make a lot more. You can't be leaving Alexis McAllister out of the starting 11, dude. Any news on Harvey Elliott? Is he staying or going? I absolutely believe he's going. Like has been mentioned most of it through the summer. He's only fallen further down the pecking order now with Wirtz arriving, so I just don't see where he gets the game time. And he deserves to play. He's good enough to be playing football regularly, but you've just spent £116 million on a player. He's not going to get the minutes. Would Rashford on a cheap be far-fetched? I wouldn't want Rashford for free. Playing for free. So free transfer and playing for free, I still wouldn't want him at Liverpool. Not a chance. Lovely human being. Very proud of what he did for underprivileged children in the UK. But no thank you as a player. Do you think we should put in a big offer for Alvarez? He doesn't. The line that I'm hearing, and I'm sure some of you guys have seen as well, is that he just doesn't want to come back to the UK. So, if he doesn't want to come back to the UK, it doesn't really matter what we offer. And also, I get the feeling, well, it's not just a feeling, I've been reading some of this as well, that he may end up at Barcelona in a year's time. So let's say Atleti don't have the greatest of years next year again and they don't win silverware. I can see him potentially moving to Barcelona then at the end of next year. That would be my best guess at that. Can Chelsea win the Club World Cup? It's a final. Anything's possible, but I wouldn't be putting my money on it. How about Ollie Watkins? Look, you take a punt on Ollie Watkins for the right price as a fan, but would the club do that? If they're talking about £50 million for a player who's just about 30, I just don't see the sensibility to that. To invest that amount of money for a player who is, at the wrong side of his peak or just at the tail end of that peak. I just don't see it. Harry, I notice you keep putting Isak and question marks in. Is there a question there somewhere, or are you just wondering if there's any chance for Isak? At the minute, there's nothing new, mate, on it. Excuse me. Liverpool would love to sign Isak, and if we were given any encouragement, I'm sure that we tried to do that deal, but it doesn't look likely as things stand unless something changes or he informs Newcastle that he wants out. Who wins, Isak or Dubois? I can't see anything but an Isak win. Look, what Dubois did in the last fight against AJ was incredibly impressive, and there's no denying that he has the power to hurt anyone. But usually in a rematch, it's usually more decisive the second time round. And I just can't see past Usyk. But, there is a chance. There's definitely a chance for Dubois. I can rule him out with the power that he has, and certainly the new confidence that he has. But, Usyk's just a special breed. Did I say Usyk? I was thinking of Isak and Usyk. Just the perfect footballer. We've just made the perfect footballer. Usyk. he's undisputed. There you go. Usyk. He's not as injury prone as Isak either. Usyk. And I spent the last time as well, a knockdown win with a jab, basically, for Dubois the last time. Didn't beat the count, and it was a jab. What about Visa? I think, again, the only thing I've really seen about Johan Visa is Spurs being interested. But, if you're Brentford, you're not going to want to lose Mbomo and Visa in the same window, as well as your manager. Is Newcastle still looking at EKITIKE? Could that mean Isak? They're looking at him because they've lost a striker. So, do I think they have the need to spend the money for EKITIKE to come in alongside Isak? No. The João Pedro deal would have made more sense. So I think if they want to move for EKITIKE, they're probably going to try and knock the price down to something closer to £60 million. But no, I definitely don't think... Look, ironically, if we did get Isak, EKITIKE probably is the one that they would have moved for regardless. But I think the plan for Newcastle would be to look at him, regardless of what happens. They just want another striker because Callum Wilson's gone. Are you worried if we sign EKITIKE and him being so young that he might flop? Yes. I'd be a liar, mate, if I told you I don't have concerns. There's very few strikers out there at the minute that you think is a guarantee. And I think the €100 million / £85 million price tag seems excessive for me for what I've seen of EKITIKE, especially knowing that they paid about 13 for him when they signed him from PSG. Kane. Harry Kane is the most un-Liverpool player ever. He is so un-Liverpool. I just wouldn't even imagine a cultural fit there for Kane. £70 million for a backup. Again, never said backup. For all I know, they could want to play EKITIKE wide left, wide right, behind Isak, beside Isak. But the plan is not to sign him to sell Isak as things stand. But again, like I've said, the Isak situation's a fluid one and it may well change later in the window. Surely if we approach Isak and offer him top wages, he could put in transfer request Newcastle, can pay him top money. Well, I don't know what Newcastle could offer him wage-wise. I don't, but, apart from the money, Newcastle can offer him Champions League football. I think there's no arguing that. But can they offer him the realistic chance to win the Champions League? Or to win the Premier League? Even allowing for the project building, can they do it in the time frame of him at his peak? No. Respectfully to Newcastle, they're not there. They might get out of the group format, they might get to a quarter-final, but they're not going to win the Champions League and they're not going to win the Premier League. We can make them the pitch that we're a club that wants to do just that and wants to do it, not in the future, not to build to it, but to do it now, right now. So, that'll be the play if you're trying to pitch to Isak. Do you want the best years of your career at an almost club? Or do you want to come and challenge for silverware when you're in your prime, which is right now? Tyler said, Craig, I'd love to see us be more direct in our style of play. I feel we're too composed and sideways a lot. I think the opposite, Tyler. I think we've been too direct, and I'd like to see us play through the lines a lot more. If you look at last season, how many long diagonal balls into the channels did we play? I'd like to see us play through midfield and through the lines a lot more than we did. Rodrigo comes in, we play Madrid in the Champions League and he kicks Trent's bum. Merry Christmas. I wouldn't say no, mate. I wouldn't say no. Natalino said, have we gone off Barcola? I don't know if we were ever really in for Barcola. I just don't rate him, personally. I just don't. Natalino. I just think he's extremely wasteful. Quick question. Is that my Diogo Jota shirt, by the way, in your profile picture, just out of curiosity? Because it certainly looks like mine, and it looks like the angle of the picture I took of mine. Just curious, not annoyed or anything, just wondering. Less crosses to the back post for me. Yes, Chris. Yes, bro. Yes. Absolutely that. The amount of aimless balls pumped in, I agree. Definitely agree with you on that one. Right, so far, we've given you 4 options and said pick one to sign. Rodrigo, EKITIKE, Šeško or Gonçalo Ramos. So if you haven't, please do keep voting. We'll leave that one running till we finish up at about 11:15. But if you haven't, do let me know. Craig May, are you excited of how we're going to play under Slot now? Hope we're going to utilise Wirtz and Frimpong. Or how are we going to utilise Wirtz and Frimpong? Definitely excited. I feel like last year, he kind of, I don't want to say played it safe, but he didn't make as many changes to the way we play as maybe he would want to. Now that he's brought some new players in and he's had time to assess the squad, I do think you're going to see a slightly different style, maybe not a million miles dissimilar to the way you see Paris Saint-Germain playing, and we know as well Aaron is a big fan of the style that Enrique has them playing. Yes, Craig, lol, sorry, but it's no problem, Natalino. I was just curious. You're more than welcome to use the picture, my friend. You're using it in a respectful manner towards Diogo. No problem whatsoever. I just thought it looked familiar, that's all. Feel free to use it, no problem. You say this striker, don't we need two? It depends, again, what way we're going to set up. So if we keep Dan's around, maybe one. But look, yeah, in an ideal world, if what happened with Diogo and if you sell Darwin, yeah, there's a space for 2 attackers there. But I'm still really intrigued to see how exactly Arne is going to set us up next year. Like, are we going to go 4-3-3? Are we going to go 4-2-2-2? It'll be interesting to see. What's with Fofana? Don't know, actually, David. Not seen anything new on Malik Fofana. Obviously, we know now that Lyon aren't getting relegated to the second tier of French football. So it seems like, am I right in saying they asked for 60 million euro was the price for Malik Fofana on the last update we had? I know we need a striker more, but would you rather Isak or Rodrigo? Isak. I'd rather Isak. I wouldn't say no to Rodrigo. I'd be very, very welcoming of Rodrigo, but I'd rather Isak because, you know, he would give us that guarantee of goals. I know you've got the injury concern, but, you know, he's getting you 20 league goals a season minimum. If you were to choose the two attackers, who would they be? I would have already signed João Pedro if we had to bring in two attackers if I was Liverpool. Because I think he would almost be that ideal second option. So who would I sign now? I think I'd go for Rodrigo and try to put Canade as part of the deal. Kind of trying to get rid of a headache as well as bringing in a player that we'd need. Do you know where the PSG Madrid game is streamed? It was on the Zone, mate. DAZN was the outlet that was showing the game. What about Salah through the middle, Frimpong right wing? Again, there's been lots of conversation over the last year from most fans about the idea of playing Mohamed through the middle, but we've not yet really seen Arne do it, but I wouldn't be against it. Does Ibu really want to leave? I think the honest answer, Adam, is I don't know anyone that can tell you that categorically at the moment. You know, you're going to hear lots of reports from Spain saying that he absolutely does. Did Channel 5 show the game? Sorry, I didn't know Channel 5 had that game on as well. I knew they had some of the games. Apologies. I didn't know they had that one. Yeah, I don't think anybody, Adam, can tell you categorically what's happening with Canade. As a betting man, it's not looking great, is it? You know, that reports suggest he's turned down 2 contract offers so far, but I just don't know as to what happens in the end. I believe we can get Isak, 70 mil for EKITIKE, when you've just got Elanga and Gordon. Feels like they're planning for life after Isak. It just feels to me like they're giving themselves options. But look, I guess Eddie Howe is going to have to wait and see, because it's a weird situation, because either we go for their striker or we go for the striker that they'd like to bring in is one of the options. But I can't tell you, because I've been really honest all summer and said I have not got a clue what way Liverpool are thinking in the striker department. No idea. Thanks, I just want to see Madrid beaten. Oh, you'll enjoy it, Kenneth, because particularly in that first half, they were ripped to shreds, bro. And it was... The scoreline doesn't flatter PSG at all. They deserved it. They absolutely tore them to shreds. Could we have a Chiesa Gakpo as our centre forward and bring Rodrigo for the left wing? I mean, I don't want Gakpo coming in central personally. Could be an option. You've said, like, no argument on that one, but I don't know. I think just remember one thing that was spoken about the type of forward that Liverpool are looking for. And what we'd heard was a young player who can play across the front line. And Rodrigo could well be that person. And again, I don't know that he is, but he can play 3 positions across the front and still young. So wait and see. If he's going to leave Real Madrid, then what are his realistic options right now? Arsenal look like they're going for Madueke, and they're bringing in a striker, and they need a centre back. Do they have the money to then throw at Rodrigo as well? Probably not. Chelsea, well, you can never rule Chelsea out when there's any transfer in a conversation, because they seem to have never-ending amount of positions available. Who else after that? I just don't see where he goes to get. You know, does he want to go to Serie A? He's not going to really win the Champions League playing in Serie A, is he? So I don't know. It just feels like if we wanted it, it would be realistic, and we've a long-standing interest as well in Rodrigo from before he went to Real Madrid. PSG, I was thinking about as well. Stephanie, I won't lie, but do they have space, Or could they guarantee Rodrigo enough guaranteed game time? I don't know the answer to that. If if they're not going to move on Barcola, Dembele, Kavicha Kvaratskhelia, Doué, they've got lots of young, hungry talent there already. They can certainly afford it. Could Rodrigo go to Bayern? Yeah. That's not a bad show, Alex. I've not seen their name mentioned personally, but it's not a bad shout, mate. But again, if they want Diaz, they're going to have to come up with the 80 million euro Liverpool are looking for, 85 million euro. If you were Isak, you'd be desperate to play for Liverpool. Absolutely. And even look back, he's got a fondness for Liverpool going back a long time. So if you're any player in the world right now, you want to come to Liverpool. But knowing that we are in need of a striker and we like you and we have the money to maybe make it possible, it'd have to be tempting. It'd have to be. What's your opinion on El Bilal Toure? I don't know anything of him, my friend. Sorry, no idea. Adam said Arsenal's transfer business doesn't scare anyone. It's solid, decent-ish business, but it's not going to scare us, as you said, mate. Terry said, just hope Liverpool stay away from Waterford FC and Shelbourne. I think we're safe in that regard for the time being, Terry. Colin said, Kubo for me, Japanese winger / striker. Certainly Takefusa Kubo's name has been kind of linked to Liverpool on and off over the years. Don't know if he's in the mix or not, because like I said, I can't sit here and say to you who we're after because I don't know. It was much easier when I knew we were going to sign Wirtz, Frimpong and Kirkheads. I was able to be blunt and say, look, don't worry, these are happening. I haven't got a clue. Do you think about those past Rodrigo comments poking fun at Salah for the Champions League final? I haven't got anything by it, to be honest with you, mate. It is what it is. Right, ladies and gentlemen, we are last couple of minutes of the stream. If you haven't voted yet, and also I'd love you to hit the like button because we are still 235 short of 1,000. We've been on this crazy long streak of 1,000 likes on the stream. So if you can take a sec, hit that like button for me. As we said, pick one to sign: Rodrigo, EKITIKE, Šeško and Ramos. It is a landslide in this one. 64% of the people that voted said, 65% now, said that they would like Rodrigo. And I agree. From the list of that names, Rodrigo would be at the top of my list there as well. What's the fee for Rodrigo? Paul, I think it's somewhere between 80 and 100 million euro. I think it's somewhere between that number, but don't quote me on that, mate. If either VVD or Canada get injured, who do we replace them with? Hopefully Mark Gay, Zane. Canada either signs a contract or sits on the bench for the season for me, mate. Obviously I'd like to sell him, but if he won't sign the new deal, if I'm Liverpool, I'm planning for life without Canada starting from right now, and that would be going out there and bringing in 2 centre-backs. Lewis Davies said, hey Craig, I think this time is better. Long-time subscriber, look forward to your streams. Thank you, my man. I really appreciate your support. Really do. Thank you. Right, we only need 116 likes to go. So remember, if you haven't, please do take a sec, hit that like button. Oh, this is so kind, mate. Thank you. VVEditZ4 said, man, I just love what you do. I watch every single stream of yours and your passion for the club makes me smile. Thank you. Thank you, mate. Yeah, I'm somebody in life, mate, that just can't fake my mood. You can read me. Like the other day, somebody said straight away, you aren't yourself. You're just not yourself at the minute. And then tonight, people are saying as well, like, yeah, you do feel like you're back to yourself. I really appreciate that. And the support we have is tremendous. And I still don't feel I deserve it, but I really appreciate it. Can I get a shout out, Footy YT? Yes, sir. Welcome in. What was your favourite Liverpool goal from 24-25? I'm going to have to say Macca's against Spurs. I don't know why, but that felt like the moment where I think we'd gone 3-1 up at that point against Spurs. It was either 2 or 3-1 at that point, and that goal just felt like that was the release moment to know it's happening. That, and of course Diogo's goal against Everton was one that, regardless of obviously the tragic events, just sticks in your mind as well, in front of the cop against Everton. What do you think about Lucho? Should he leave? For me, mate, yeah. I just get the feeling he's angling for a move away. So for me, yes. I think you're at that point now where, if you get the money, I'd move on. And I'm more than happy for him to stay as well, by the way. I like Luis Diaz as a footballer, but you just get the feeling he wants to move away at this point. Or he wants money that Liverpool aren't willing to give. We've had so many unusual disruptions. It's also called far too many since Klopp said out of the blue he's leaving middle of the season. I just think the club kind of took their eye off the ball on some of the contracts and allowed situations to develop that shouldn't have happened. And the Canade one really does confuse me. Trent's felt like he kind of instigated that. But with Canade, I don't know, it just feels like maybe we took our eye off the ball. It should have been done last season. Crindle said, hello, hope you're doing good. Isn't EKITIKE and Gakpo similar in profile? If yes, what are the differences in the play, and is it a good thing? Again, I'm not the person to ask. Maybe the chat can give you a better answer than that one, because I haven't seen all that much of Hugo EKITIKE. I think he's probably a bit more renowned centrally. Again, I would say probably he's a bit more pace, but Cody ain't shy or is no slouch either, over 10 yards or 15 yards. I just don't know enough about EKITIKE to give you an honest answer. Did I watch PSG Madrid? I watched the first half, and then I had to start getting a few things ready for work. So I was an impressive first half, mate, from PSG. Really, really did rip Madrid to shreds. Should Rio be promoted if Lucho leaves? I think, LFC AD 92, I think you may see Rio promoted regardless. He's going to be looked at in pre-season. We may see him against Preston, and I wouldn't mind it. I'm excited to see young Rio, because if you're hearing some of the noises that's coming out of training about, maybe him putting a few players to shame, it's exciting to think of his development. And if Arne feels he's ready, we know the club will give him options and opportunities. So who knows? Maybe. Right, I'm going to have to say goodnight, ladies and gentlemen. I know it was a later stream tonight. Appreciate you understanding, obviously with a few bits and pieces to sort out today. If you can, before you head off, hit that like button for me. We're only 49 away, but I will see you tomorrow. Usual time, 8:45 for the late night agenda. There'll be no late night video coming out tonight because obviously the stream went later, but we'll have the usual return tomorrow. Video about 4:45, stream 8:45, and then of course we'll be back with a late night news roundup as well. Appreciate you all. Thank you for joining me tonight. Thank you to our sponsor Surfshark as well. A reminder, scan the QR code there to get that Surfshark offer. See you guys tomorrow. 25 likes to go. I know we can get there. Much love, folks. Talk to you soon. Bye.